So I went to dinner this evening with someone, and as I was being served, I casually asked the waiter if he had heard about confirmation that it's all over the news and everything else. And hey guys, let me know if I sound okay. Um, and and he's no, he didn't. He had no idea what I was talking about. So finally, I showed him some of the articles of what's going on and everything. And immediately I could see just the panic. And immediately he asked me, is everything going to be okay? Thank you, Burgos. Is everything going to be okay? And immediately I realized I had to soothe the waiter. I had to let him know that, yes, you're going to be okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I could see the panic in his eyes. And it made me realize something that's very important for everybody, particularly in the Mandela effect community, is that a lot of things are going to change pretty rapidly here. Pretty rapidly, things are going to change, and we need to be part of the that kind of vanguard of that. We've got to understand our role in this whole thing and where um where we are in this. Hold on, I'm looking at something from talking about Thomas Sheridan. Yeah, yeah, okay. Thomas Sheridan, someone I follow, PSYOP, Bluebeam, Reality Fracture, Swamp Gath, these are ways something is going down. Yeah, so Luciferus sent me another Twitter friend of mine, the New York Times article. Wow, what was that? Navy pilots report unexpected flying objects. Navy pilots speak out on UFO sightings. UFOs exist, and everyone needs to adjust to that fact. So confirmation has already happened. I'm also reading from Virginia Beach. UFOs in Virginia Beach, Navy pilots reporting sightings near Oceana. That's a military installation. Virginia Beach and Norfolk, Virginia are the largest military, I believe the largest naval installations on the planet, and certainly on the East Coast. And I was talking to my anonymous government contractor, and we were talking about this kind of process that needs to happen next, that the public needs to start to be aware of. And it really drove it home to me with this interaction that I had. And then earlier in the day, one of my best friends that I've been friends with for about 20 years, he owns a lamp shop, and he may be listening to this now for all I know. And I could tell he was asking me a lot of questions, because I had told him before everything was going to be disclosed to the public. I told him how this was going to happen, and it played out exactly like I said it was going to play out. And you find yourself in a situation where you're the authority, and though I don't have the full information, and I'm given what I'm given, and then I disclose what I can, and what I can't, I keep my mouth shut about, because that's what I do. But what I can say next is that part of the process of what's going to happen next, I think, is for a lot of folks that are considered fringe, or just regular people who have maybe smaller channels, or people that are regulars inside of the chats. We may get a new influx of different kind of people who are getting their feet wet in this kind of environment, who aren't used to it. And the reason why that's going to happen is like the instance with my waiter. They're completely unaware, and it's going to get to a point where these things are going to be flying overhead eventually. I mean, it's just the fact that pilots in Virginia Beach and Norfolk, and certainly in San Diego, and I believe even as far north as Seattle, and all through the coastlines of Canada. Um, it's going to go beyond the military, and it's going to be part of this process. Also, too, part of the process where we come in is we're going to have to be kind of these kinds of ambassadors. A while back, I talked about the Mandela effect and becoming an ambassador to the Mandela effect, We have to be ambassadors to the rest of the world, and we need to level up. We need to up our game and only put serious instances that are out there. And then when you pose a philosophical question, make sure that you preface it with the fact that you are talking in terms of it being, you're speculating. And then when you have something serious like the CIA FOIA document that we do for the gateway process, which I've included in here for anybody that's new, you include that and you guide them through the document. So I implore everyone to, you know, we should, if we hear people talking about it, if people are nervous about it, if people are frightened about it, and you know a bit about it, start to open up. And what needs to happen too is we're going to have to become a community again, particularly in America specifically. I know people from all over the world are listening, but Americans, we don't talk to each other anymore. And as I was looking around while I was having dinner with a loved one, I was just thinking, none of these people talk. We don't talk with one another, and barely people were talking to each other at the tables. And when they were showing each other stuff from online, which is what I do, which is what I did. And the whole framework, the whole social framework, is going to have to radically change very soon. And also, too, I was talking to my contact, and he was, letting me know about these kinds of things and what's going to happen. And there needs to be this gentle movement towards a re-understanding of what it is to be a community and what it is to reach out to the broader community. And also, too, I think there needs to be a sort of a re-augmentation of people who are battle hardened and you've been laughed at for being a conspiracy kook and for being a UFO kook. And you can't be angry now and internalize that and say, I knew I was right, and shake your hand at everybody at the room for, because they laughed at you for 20 years and you were the butt of the joke. I was too. And that's something we need to put aside now. Because the frame of reference that everyone has that they operate under, there's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of people who are entrenched in certain belief systems. They're going to double and triple down. Those belief systems are going to capitalize on that. There's going to be a lot of dissent. There's going to be a lot of re-entrenchment. But for those of us that truly want to know what's really the real truth, we have a responsibility to each other, and we have a responsibility to those that are new to this world, to reach your hand out and don't be bitter because you were the butt of the joke for this whole time. Let's get those thumbs up. 42 are watching. Can I please get those thumbs up? Like it's Catherine Hafner is the staff writer here at the Virginia Pilot. I reached out to her. I haven't had a reply yet. I'd love to talk with her about her article. It was very well written, if you happen to listen to this, Catherine, and I appreciate the work you've done here. And I'm sure anybody that reaches out to you, they should be absolutely positive and appreciative that you did. And the Virginian Pilot it's a fine. It looks like it's they write fine articles, and this is going to affect them and that area too. Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach, probably any place with large military installations. Because I said obviously, right? Obvious. It's obvious. But then again, too, I think we also my contact and I have been talking since probably, I think, late April is when he broke to me what is happening and what is going to happen and how things are going to roll out and when I can say things and everything. And what I can tell you is that we're going, it's already happened. What I said, we've got confirmation. It is tied to CERN. It's retrocausality, tied to the Mandela effect. And because we're still talking about vibrational frequencies, thank you, Mel, for the super chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, super chats are obviously welcome. We do lots of research. I'm completely overwhelmed right now with, I still work a full-time job. I do this. I do the research. It's a lot going on, but thank you so much for that. The super chat, it's very appreciated. And if you can't do a super chat, a thumbs up, it's free, and it'll help out. It'll get this message out. So, I mean, I just really appreciate that. So the point is, we all have to be ambassadors, and we have to understand that society is going to go through this period of turmoil, because it's going to go through, whether it's physical turmoil or just internal turmoil, there's going to be a recalibration and a readjustment of the energy, and the energy that's all around us, and the sort of the polarity of the planet is going to shift in a dramatic and a drastic way, particularly if we start talking about situations where we start seeing on a regular basis where contact is being made, and it becomes part of our daily lives, because these pilots are seeing it. And now I'm hearing anecdotal stuff from people all the time where they talk about retired Navy personnel, and they're like, yeah, we were out there, we would see things all the time, and all the time. So that's coming down, and what we're going to do is we're going to adjust to that. Now, one thing I want to say is that I think headlines like military personnel warn of UFO sightings, and then the kind of war footing that happened on Good Morning America this morning, I think it's probably a good idea, but I also think there needs to be two fronts to this, to understand we don't fully understand it, but also too that you know, the war footing may be appropriate for a certain population and professional personnel, but in terms of the front facing aspect and the social aspect and social cohesion to this reframing of our understanding of our society, it's going to be important that we have another face to this, a face that is more reassuring, a face that's letting people know that communication should be made from leaders to us, those of us that aren't part of the power structure, to those of us that are outsiders. That, just like this waiter, I shocked him by information that was already out there. And part of that is also going to be the responsibility of the individual in public. There's a new there's kind of a new way in which they are going to have to, the sort of uninitiated, if you were into, and I know that's a trigger word for some people, but it's the uninitiated into the conspiracy world. They're in our realm now. A lot of us are very well versed in UAP UFOs, because we know we're talking, and I was talking to my contact, we're talking about vibrational frequencies, and he told me they've always been here. To take heart in that, and let people know that the UFOs and the things that they may see in the future are things that have always been here. It's just now we're able to see them within the visual spectrum that our senses, our visual senses and hearing and all of those things that makes us human beings, we're able to see now, and we didn't have that before. That's the only thing that's changing, is you're becoming aware of an element of your environment that always existed. And that's something that we need to get out there. And if there is someone who has power or pull, and they happen to come across this very obscure YouTube channel, perhaps, toning down these early headlines like that. And I know everybody wants the clickbait, military personnel warn of UFO sightings. I understand that. And I understand there's an element of that. But to those of us that aren't in power, and to those of us that aren't part of military personnel or the intelligence world, perhaps maybe a bit of a recalibration to that could be helpful for social cohesion, and helpful for those of us that want to help people transition to this new reality, and to understand exactly what it is we're dealing with. Because I don't entirely know. I know, if we have plenty of documents from the psychotronic document, Buster has a new document I need to study. I'll be out for training next week, so I'll do the best I can with dropping in. But for my job, I got to go to Wisconsin and get training done. So, anyway, that's a side note. So, and that will also disrupt the Lost and Found, Ben, not this Saturday, not tomorrow, but, next week. So, right, PlayStation. I used to be about the Mandela effect. Now he's gone all UFO. Well, if you've been paying attention, PlayStation, which perhaps you haven't, go back. I made the transition around May 1 where I was saying there's a holistic approach to the Mandela effect, and this is all connected. Everything it boils down to vibrational frequencies and tuning in and out of this existence. This existence is like a radio station, and things on this plane of existence vibrate at an incredible speed. And what it does, it vibrates until it's silent. And that's why you have solids around you. And then you can have things like they have in the and where you click in and out in the Monroe Institute, in the gateway document, which I included here again. And I implore everyone to read that document. I can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. And I can repeat it over and over again, but I'm bored of even talking about it. And at this point, if it's someone new and they want to know, I will repeat it for you. But I see a lot of the usual suspects here. I say that in a loving way. And so, you have to first get the basis and the understanding of how reality works. And that's what happened on the way to learning about the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is a side effect, and it's a side effect of things like CERN. And that's another great point, PlayStation. UFOs are military industrial complex, not aliens. Okay, first off, you don't know that. You have no information for that, because then present your information and shock us all. Second off, it's going to come through the military because they're not you, not me. Do you have time to do this kind of it? Do you have the resources to investigate this? No, they do. So obviously it's going to filter through them. One, it's their job. That's what we pay them to do. Two, they have the resources. Three, they have the time. They have the personnel. They have hundreds of years of experience with dealing in information like this. So what other resource are you going to use? I don't understand the mentality because it comes through the military or it comes through an intelligence agency. Yeah, I'm just going to wipe my hands of it. It's crap. And then just roll my arms up and I'm done with this. You're going to learn nothing. You're going to have to put your trust somewhere because things are going to change drastically. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to make up your mind. And, you argue with the document. Don't argue with me. I told you weeks ago this is going to happen. It's going to happen. Now I'm telling you what's going to happen in the future, and it's going to happen. And if I get it through a government source or whatever source, that's what they do. I don't know of another source. Fake alien invasion incoming. How do you know it's fake? How do you know it's alien? Do you even know what these things are? I was told these things are pretty local. I was told that they've always been here. You can call them watchers, you can call them archangels, you can call them whatever you want. They've always been here. Now, the flip side of the coin is CERN. CERN's part of a larger apparatus, and what they're trying to do is artificially tear the fabric of reality to let in some other kind of non-corporeal entities that are not like what we've been talking about. It's a completely different paradigm. Yes, it is a holographic timeline. That's right. It's Lenny. It's a holographic timeline. And it's look at it this way. If you know of another apparatus other than a government apparatus that has the depth of resources, that has the depth of understanding, let me know, please, and I will come on here and I will apologize all day if you know something that can compete with that. Because this one thing we have to do is, again, level up again and become a bit more mature about how we approach all this. We can't be this bumper sticker mentality about how we do all these things now. We all have been in this for a long time, whether you're an ME, whether you believe in UFOs, whether you believe in the holographic universe, my big toe, all of those kinds of things. All of those alternative ways of thinking. You have to be an ambassador to a whole new rush of this population that's going to be trying to look for the people that have been inside of this the whole time. Yes, of course, question everything, PlayStation. Absolutely. Of course you can question it. But I am absolutely no longer going to say there's just some source that I just, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. There's just, I've come to my point to where I'm just going to have to. All right, let me ask here, Mark, and I were tweeting earlier. When it leads back to CERN and does so demonstrably, can you see a backlash coming towards them? I don't know. I don't see that. I don't know. Where is UAP? I don't know where UAP is. The Navy pilots have saying that there's lots of them. My my contact is saying it's going to be apparent eventually. In terms of CERN and some kind of backlash, I don't know how, because what's happening is you've got this struggle that's going on that you can't see. And that's another thing people need to understand. You have the UF government, but you have the US government, but you also have forces that are well beyond. You've got to read the gateway process, please. You can't understand anything I'm saying unless you understand the way in which reality works. I almost don't want to dig through my stuff here because I got it all set for me to travel. But I guess I can do this one more time. I can read for you guys. I'm a little tired, so if I seem a little crabby, I do apologize. It's the usual crew. I think they get it. But if you're new, I'm usually not this crabby. Okay, this is for PlayStation. From the top, the universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest, some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. The human mind is also a hologram, which attunes itself to the universal hologram by medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. That's the CIA FOIA drop from the Department of Army, June 1983, June 9, 1983. It's called The Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. The link is below. It's from CIA.gov. It's official. In various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. So another little highlight. Here we go. In reality, Einstein's theory of relativity is not being invalidated, but rather the communication concern is taking place outside of the dimension of time-space to which the theory of relativity is strictly confined. So you have a way to not do that. And the way in which all of these things operate is a process called patterning that we all can do if we have the ability to do it. The technique of patterning recognizes the fact that since consciousness is the source of all reality, our thoughts have the power to influence the development of reality in time-space as it applies to us if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. However, the more complicated the object sought, the more radically it departs from our current reality, the more time the universal hologram will need to reorient our reality sphere to accommodate our desires. Monroe trainers caution against attempting to force the pace of this process because the individual could succeed in dislocating his existing reality, drastic consequences. And like I said, finally, we come to page 27 of the document. Be intellectually prepared to react to possible encounters with intelligent non-corporeal life energy forms when time-space boundaries are exceeded. So they've done that. We are now being prepared to interact with these energy forces that are in our visible spectrum. So there you go. Tartarian Empire. I will address that, but not tonight. I'm too tired. So I saw that reaction. I knew immediately 71 are watching. Can I get 71 thumbs up? So I knew immediately that we need to do that and we need to work that out together. And we'll do that. We're early on in this process. Obviously, a lot of people aren't paying attention, even though CBS, like with Good Morning America, ABC, New York Times, the Virginian Pilot, Washington Post, The Hill, it's over and over again. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of people still, they're not paying attention. And part of that is the media. It's their fault. They lied and they deceived us for so long. We were talking about that before. It's partially the mainstream media's fault. It is. We were born into this, and now all of these things have to be corrected. There's going to have to be a retrenchment of our trust in those institutions, and those institutions need to accept the mantle that they should be living up to, and they woefully have been failing at, whether they be government or media. They're failures. If you're in the media and you're listening to me, you're a failure. And the reason why is you laughed at people like us, and now these things are a reality that you have to cope with. So cope with them and get on with it and help the rest of us out who know a lot more about it now than you. And you laughed at all of the university professors that are, I did that one from, I think, of UVA about parapsychology, the paranormal that they've been working on. It's not something to scoff at anymore. This is real. These things are real, and they're all connected. So those institutions that have been failing us, the whole reason why there's a conspiracy world, because of that distrust, because we know we've been lied to. And there has to be a new retrenchment, a new understanding, and a rebuilding of that relationship. And if those institutions won't accept that, it will happen naturally. And those institutions, including the government, will be thrown aside. Particularly if this UAP UFO thing is real, and trust me, it is. This is way bigger. This is way, way, way more profound. This is like 1,000 years profound kind of thing. Intelligent agencies don't really make much sense if everyone is connected in consciousness and can remote view, can they? I'm not entirely sure I understand what you mean, Chris. I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but so I think there's going to have to be a rebranding of society, a rebranding of social cohesion with each other. And we're going to have to talk again to strangers and care for one another. And we're gonna have to invite people in and say, "No, well, I've been studying this for 10 years and I was laughed at, and I'm incredibly bitter now, and I don't wanna talk to you about it because, oh, you just arrived and suddenly you wanna know about this?" Or a media outlet suddenly wants to work with clickbait, like saying, whatever it is they might say in the future. I don't know, I can't predict. I hope we can all pull this thing together, and if not, it's gonna do it naturally anyway, because the way it was described to me is they've always been here. We're like children in kind of like a sandlot. And we're playing around, and we've played with matches for too long. Particularly the CERN side of it, where they're trying to artificially make the tear. And there will be a reset if that happens. It has happened before. It's been recorded before, and it will happen again. And it'll be terrifying and fearsome. So the best thing that we can do is come together and build some kind of social cohesion and start to work with those kinds of institutions if we can work together. That's what I call for, is rather than throwing them aside, working with them and saying, let's do this as a society together. This them versus us thing, man, it's getting us nowhere. And that may be part of the reason why they're here and they're showing themselves. I don't know. That's speculation on my side. But nobody was talking to one another in that restaurant. It was so strange, and barely anyone, between tables, unheard of. And it could be that because I'm on the coast, maybe the Midwest and other areas have better social cohesion. I certainly understand that, and it could be a regional thing. But I've been to a lot of big cities in the lower 48, and I don't see a lot of that where it's just this current cross section of people really working together and really caring. And I think it's, you know, we should listen to what they have to say. I don't think just because it's from the government, we should just throw it away right away. I think we need to listen and see what they have to say. It's just worth it. Um, so that's how all of this is put together. Ultimately, you can look at like a radio station is the quickest way you can get to understanding how all of it is put together. Terra Babel equals CERN. Yeah, I mean, it could be something like that. I mean, there's a good tie there. You could. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but yeah, sort of. I'm thinking more Great Flood, but sure, you can go with that. Tower of Babel. Yeah. Yep. Certainly. I think the Great Flood is probably more profound. Um, but all right, I'm really tired. And I just had that experience, and I just wanted to share it. And I realized that I'm talking to the usual audience, and I'm talking to new folks. Please, new subscriptions, please, jump on. We talk Mandela effect, we talk retrocausality, UAP, UFO. We talk occult, paranormal, because it's all related. I've talked from everybody from an Ivy League um, palliative care doctor to, different kinds of people that are in the occult, to people who just they've experienced the Mandela effect, because it's all there's nothing is in a vacuum, nothing is siloed anymore. It's all um it's all related. It's all part of the tapestry of this existence and this thing we have to experience, and we have to do it together. And I think that we need to start reassessing the building blocks of how we do that as a human community, and understanding how that works. Um, and I think we should, rather than fight against, we should leverage. We should leverage the tools. Am I fading? Is my voice fading? Let me know, guys. We should leverage the tools and the resources they have, and you should give them, let's at least try to give them that second chance. Let's see what it is. And for the new people who have no idea what we're talking about, well, welcome. It's going to get weirder from here, a lot weirder. So, anyway, tomorrow, the lost and found bin, usual time. However, in the near future, the lost and found bin is going to change times. I'm going to talk to Chick about moving it back 2 hours. But that won't happen tomorrow. Next week, there will be no lost and found bin because I'll be flying home from training. Then the week after that, we'll talk about it maybe. And then we'll get back together very, very soon. And let's see, if the storyline is more than a storyline, there are two sides at war here. We should pick a side and stand firm. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. And I pick who's, there are beings here that have been with us the whole time, and they have our best interests in mind because they've been with us the whole time. And then there's forces that are outside that they're trying to let in. And, there's so much more to this, and we'll go through it and we'll get into it. But what I like to do is take these things kind of slow. And I like to get into it because I don't want to sound like a lot of channels where they just kind of go on about a lot of things that are, they seem very less today. They seem less speculative, obviously, than before, but they seemed at the time before we had confirmation. I'd rather take it slow because I know a lot more, but I just, I'd rather take it slower. So anyway, I'm gonna jump off. Let's get those thumbs up. If you're new, let me be one of your sources. Come to me. We do the research, we do the work, we do the best we can. It's unvarnished, it's unedited, it's minimalist, and that's it. So yeah, exactly. Everyone have a really good evening, and I will talk to you in just a few hours. I'll see you tomorrow. East Coast time, 2 o'clock. Right? Yeah, and then West Coast time, noon. Yeah, I'm really tired. All right. All right. Take it easy, and take care of one another, and really listen to just listen to what the officials have to say. They know what they're talking about.